Hi, I'm Rose Jordan with Visit Mineral Wells, and I'm here at Texas Frontier Trails Heritage Park with Mark and Rhett, who are trail stewards with the Weatherford Mountain Bike Club, and Kirk Horton, who's a part of the Texas Frontier Trails group. We'll be headed on the trails in just a minute, but first we wanted to talk to Kirk a little bit about the park. And so Kirk, if you would tell us a little bit about the history of the park, and then tell us what else there is out here for people to enjoy.
Yeah, you know, back in 1933 or late 1932, the state of Texas began to develop the state park system. And so they were looking for communities that had land that would be worthy of preserving. And so there was a doctor here in Mineral Wells by the name of Dr. Hubert H. Milling. And he had this 60 acres, and he actually donated it to the state of Texas. And this actually became State Park number 8. It was the 8th state park in the Texas system. And then in 1933, the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, provided jobs. And so there was a large camp of men that came here and did a lot of rock work. You can still see some of that today in the pavilion, the front gate. There's an arch bridge toward the back of the park. And so the park had actually ended up, when the state of Texas began to cut back, so they donated it back to the city of Mineral Wells. And it's been through various organizations, but it had fallen into a great amount of disrepair. And Texas Frontier Trails started an organization. We wanted to preserve some of the Western heritage and provide educational opportunities for the younger generation to just experience being outdoors and some of the things that Texas is known for, like Goodnight Loving cattle trails. Started about 15 miles actually from here. Goodnight and Oliver Loving both lived here. So we were looking for a place where we could provide an opportunity to showcase signs that talk about the history. There's an amphitheater here that we built that we have attempted to do various times of skits and shows and dramas about the life of early Texans. And so some of the things you'll be able to see here if you come as a family, there's a great walking opportunity on the lower levels. There's about 30 different historical signs where you can read about the history of the state of Texas, more about this particular park in general. One of the interesting stories that you'll see if you come here and walk through is that there was one of the early day settlers of Palo County. Their name was the Cowdens. They later became some of the wealthiest oil people and ranchers in West Texas, and they actually got their beginning here. One of their sons was named Jeff Cowden, and he was such a good roper, he said that nothing will ever come through Palo County that I can't lasso or throw a rope on. So when the first railroad steam engine came through, story says he actually lassoed that steam engine down at Strong, Texas. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not, but it makes a great history. You learn about a lot of the history.
That's really cool. All right. Well, I think we're going to head out onto the trails now. Kirk, thanks so much for letting us know the stories here, and thank your group for everything that they've done to make this a park that not only our community, but travelers can enjoy. It's a great park. In Mineral Wells, we have more than 30 miles of mountain biking trails, and many would say that the terrain here is unlike anywhere, especially in our neighboring DFW area. So, Mark, what makes the terrain here so different and appealing to mountain bikers?
Definitely the rocks and boulders. A lot of the other trails in the area mid-cities are going to be very flat on maybe water treatment plant land. And here it's a beautiful open space. There's no weird smell, plenty of hardwoods, and then the rocks and the boulders. You just can't get that anywhere else.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of some basic etiquette. But first, do you have recommendations for what kind of bikes you should or shouldn't be bringing out here onto these trails particularly?
I'd say you need a bike that's in working order. You might stop by one of the local shops, Flying Tire, to have them look over your bike if you haven't ridden a bike in a while. And then front suspension definitely is going to help out. Rear suspension, maybe not. That's not a requirement. I ride a hardtail, but front suspension and a well-working bike.
Okay. All right. All right. So if you've never been mountain biking, what are some kind of basics, the etiquettes of being on a trail with other people who are either also mountain biking or maybe even hiking? So what do we need to know?
So I would say the first rule is you kind of have two sets of rules, in my opinion. One set of rules is for bikers alone, and then the other set of rules would be for use of these trails and any other trails that you may be riding. So for bikers, to me, the most important rule is wear a helmet. Always wear a helmet. You can never tell when you're going to have a crash. There's a lot of dangerous areas out here, and protecting your head is super important. You can have a major injury if you're not wearing a helmet and you have a wreck. And it doesn't matter if you're riding the hardest stuff out here and you're a high-level rider, or if you're just a beginner and you're riding the green trails and part of the blue trails. You can hurt yourself on any of this, on any of the trail out here. So please wear a helmet, a bicycle helmet. They do make special mountain biking helmets that come down a little further in the back to help protect the back of your head a little bit more. But even if it's not a mountain biking helmet, a biking helmet that you would wear if you were road biking or something.
Okay.
Second rule for bikers, I would say, is scout it. And what that means is when you come out here and ride this trail the first time, you don't want to go, full speed and just be riding areas that you don't know, because there are bridges out here that at the end have up to 1.5 feet, maybe 2 foot drop off of them. There are some expert sections of the trail that, you're going downhill and you're going over rocks, and you could easily go over the handlebar. So when you come out, I'm not saying you have to walk the whole trail, but ride it at a slow pace. If you get to an area that you feel is above your level of experience, get off and walk down the trail a little ways and see what's going on. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to be embarrassed. Mm-hmm. It's better to know what you're going to ride than end up taking a trip to the hospital. The third rule I would say, and Mark kind of touched on this, is check your bike. There's some basic rules that they call the ABCs. Air, make sure your tires are aired up. B, make sure your brakes work. And C, check your chain and your derailleur and everything in that area. And again, if you don't know what you're doing with the bike, if you're not a bike mechanic and don't even understand the basics of it, stop by Flying Tire here in Mineral Wells or any other bike shop, and they can help you out with that. But you want your bike to work correctly. Maybe you do a loop or two in the parking lot and check it out beforehand. You don't want to get out on these trails and find out your brakes don't work or your tires aren't aired properly. If you have too much air or too little air, it will affect the way you ride, and it can be dangerous. The next rule for bikers, I would say, that it's important out here, but it's important on any other trail you might ride, is carry your phone with you and know your location. So we're standing by a trail marker here that doesn't give you your location. It kind of gives you some of the rules of the trail. It tells you you're on the blue trail and things. But all along this trail, we have EMT markers. So there's signs, and it'll tell you where on the trail you are, point A, point B, point C, etc. And if you can try and pay attention as you pass those different markers, that will help you in case you fall off your bike and get hurt. You have your phone, you call 911, and the local EMT service has a map of this park. They have a way to get in the back gate. They can obviously get in the front gate. And if you can give them an idea of where you are, then it makes it a lot easier for them to come in and help you instead of having to look all over the park for you. If you don't have your phone, you're not going to be able to call 911. And honestly, some days when you're out here, it may be an hour before somebody comes by you on the trail. And so you could get seriously injured and be laying there for a while. So I recommend carrying your phone with you and paying attention to those EMT markers so you can tell them, I'm between point A and point B, or I'm between point G and H, and give them an idea so that they can come find you. And then ride within your ability. There's beginner level stuff out here, which Mark will talk about in a little bit as we get into the different trails that are out here. But there is super beginner level stuff, and there is considerably more advanced areas out here that only a small percentage of people can ride. So the only way you get better is to test yourself, but just be careful and don't do anything stupid, because again, mountain biking can be very dangerous. Lots of broken bones, concussions. I bleed pretty well every time I ride, I think. So ride within your ability and just be smart about how you ride. The last rule I would say for bikers is carry water with you. There's not water available out here. The trail is about 4.5 miles long, and you can be a long ways from the front gate and from your vehicle. you get a flat tire, you get hurt, whatever, and you need some water with you. So carry at least a water bottle, maybe a backpack with some water, or they make these fanny packs that have water now, but carry some water with you so that you can stay hydrated. As we get into more the general rules for the park, my first rule personally is don't trash up the park. We have on this sign, well, it's not on this sign, it's on another sign, but pack out what you pack in. So if you bring a water bottle, if you bring anything to drink, if you bring a goo or any kind of food to eat while you're on the trail, just please take that trash out with you. It's really hard for us to walk these trails and pick up every piece of trash that people decide to throw down. So we would ask that you kind of clean up after yourself. The second rule is pay attention for snakes. There are trail markers out here that have a rattlesnake sign on them. That's no joke. There are rattlesnakes out here. There are copperheads out here. I'm sure there are other kind of non-poisonous snakes out here. But Mark and his wife came across a rattlesnake just 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so they are out here. This is a perfect place for snakes with all of the rocks and everything. There's also a creek that flows through this park that attracts copperheads. So heed those signs. Stay on the trail. That's one reason why we say stay on the trail, is because there's dangerous stuff as you get off of the trail. But even when you're on the trail, pay attention. I saw probably a 3-foot-long rattlesnake laying across the trail one day. So just because you're on the trail doesn't mean that you can't pay attention as you ride or run or walk or whatever. Share the trail is really important. I know this video is about mountain biking, but these trails are for walkers, hikers. People come out here and do orientation stuff with their compasses. People come out here and trail run. And so share the trail. On the sign at the kiosk where we started the video, there's a list of rules, and it talks about who yields to who. Normally walkers yield to runners and runners yield to bikers just because the speed you're going. But just be courteous to other people. If you're coming up behind walkers, yell at them, bike behind you or on your left or something, and just communicate with people, because this trail's meant for everybody. Young people, old people, people have their dogs out here, they have their kids out here. We don't want anybody to get hurt. So make sure that you share the trail and you're courteous. Muddy trails. If the trails are muddy, if we just got an inch of rain, please don't come out here on the trails, because it really tears them up. It puts grooves in them that stay. It just messes them up. If you check the Weatherford Mountain Bike Club Facebook page, we have banners on there for this trail and 2 other trails over in Parker County that the club maintains. And if the sign for this trail, Western Heritage Park Trail, is green, that means it's open and it's okay to ride. If it's red, that means the trail is closed, normally because of rain, and we would ask that you don't come out here and ride it or walk it or anything like that, because it really has an impact on the trail. The next rule is stay on the trails. We already talked about that for one reason, because of snakes and other wildlife that's out here that could be dangerous, but also we don't want people creating what are called bandit trails. We don't want you shortcutting. If you decide, oh, I'm tired and I can see the trail right over there, instead of walking around, I'm just going to cut through here. If everybody starts doing that, you end up creating these little side trails, and it gets confusing for people as they're walking or riding. They come and they're like, oh, do I go left? Do I go right? And everything. So please stay on the trails as they're marked. There's always little cutout areas. If you come out here to walk or bike, you don't have to do the whole 4.5 miles. It's broken up into little loops that are anywhere between half a mile and a mile long. So please stay on the trails. And the last rule is, please don't smoke out here. You're coming out here probably because you want to enjoy nature, you want to get a little exercise. Smoking doesn't really go with that. High risk of fire out here. You can see all the dead foliage and everything. And it's just more trash that we have to pick up. So if you want to smoke, please smoke at your car, throw it in the trash, take it in your car, whatever, but please no smoking out here on the trails.
Yeah, that's good information. All right, so we talked a little bit, you guys mentioned this, you call it a trail marker, and so tell us a little bit about like what's on this one and what we might see on some of the other ones so that we understand what we're looking at.
So as you're riding or hiking, you're going to come across these carcinite posts. The top is going to tell you the color trail you're on. It's going to give you a direction. It'll tell you who it's open to, so hikers, trail runners, walkers, bikers. It'll tell you what it's closed to horses, and it also says no motorized vehicles, no e-bikes, or pedal assist bikes. That's a state law. That's like a state rule, so write your senator if you're complaining about the no e-bikes, state senator. And then always wear your helmet, safety first. It just tells you who maintains these trails. It's the Weatherford Mountain Bike Club comes out here, and we take care of the trails whenever they need to be taken care of. So this is just kind of gives you a place where you are, kind of know what you're up against.
Okay. And so you guys have mentioned the different kinds of trails, and I think you said we're on a green trail, right?
This is the blue trail here that we're on. So as you come out of the parking lot, and this is really the trailhead. So you start with the blue trail, it turns into red trail next, and then at the end is the green trail. But again, you don't have to ride every one. You can just start and ride the green trail if you want to. We also have what's called the orange trail, which is really just a road and an old, I'll call it a Jeep road or a fire road that goes through the park from the front gate all the way to the back gate. And that's real nice because if you want to skip different sections of the trail, then you can take the orange and get to other parts of the park. But here the blue trail is what I would call kind of an intermediate level. There are very easy sections. You can see behind us where the trail starts off. It's flat, just a few little rocks here, so nothing major. But as you ride the blue trail, it does get a little bit more advanced in places, and the blue trail by itself is probably 1.25 miles or so. I've never actually measured it. And then it flows into the red trail, but again, if when you get to the end of the blue trail you don't want to get on the red trail, you can break right off onto the orange road or whatever and go ride the green. The red trail gets considerably more advanced. Now in some areas it's not that hard, but overall that trail is the most advanced section of trail out here. And we actually have some sections. We're working on a new map, but the new map will have a solid red line for stuff that I would call upper level intermediate, and then we'll have dotted red lines for some sections that we've added, which I guess I'd call expert. I mean, you know, there is harder stuff in the Rocky Mountains and Bentonville and all right. Again, this is, this is Mineral Wells, but it's pretty high level stuff.
Okay.
And so that's the red trail. It's the harder stuff out here. And then finally is the green trail. The green trail flows through open areas and down near the creek. There are no rocks on it. It's all relatively flat. And it's definitely your beginner level, whether it be for children or even adults who are just wanting to start out mountain biking. Now, don't take that for granted, because one of the stewards of Weatherford Mountain Bike Club, his son fell and broke his leg on the green trail. My wife hit a patch of sand on the green trail and went off her bike and ended up face planting. So again, that's why I go back to the helmet rule. Any trail part out here, you could potentially hurt yourself. So don't assume just because you're riding the green trail that it's going to be easy and you're not going to have an accident. You still need to pay attention and know what you're doing. But those are the basic sections of the trail. And again, every part of the trail is independent. You don't have to ride blue to get to red to get to green. You can just go hit those parts of the trail. And the map up at the kiosk will show you how that is. And if you're not carrying your phone with you, well, you would need your phone, because we suggest you take a picture of the map at the trail if you don't have it pulled up on the Facebook page or Trail Forks or one of those apps that a lot of mountain bikers use. Take a picture of the trail so that you know where you are in the park and everything. But the signs really indicate. I mean, you're not going to be confused. If you just follow the signs and stay on the trail, you're going to know where you are at all times.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think maybe it's time to get out there and see what's so special about the trails here. You guys ready? All right.
Awesome.
So, Mark, I'm guessing this is some of that terrain that we're known for with the mountain bikers, all these rocks.
Absolutely. So this starts the red trail. This is where the rocks become boulders pretty quickly. We kind of call this a squirrel trap, where it's allowing you as a mountain biker, if you come along and you get to this part, maybe the first 100 feet of this trail, and you think, well, this is crazy nuts, then you probably need to turn around and head on back to the blue. But if you're like, man, this is awesome, this is just the kind of crazy I'm up for, then carry on, because it only gets more wild from here.
All right.
So in the previous section, we're talking about how the rocks get bigger quick. So here we are. We're in a section where the rocks have grown exponentially, and you're heading uphill. And this is the J. Gill Lost Trail, something that we recently built. It's about 300 yards or so of trail, but it is extremely gnarly, very rowdy, uphill, downhill, a lot of off-camber stuff, choppy rocks, got a slab roll up there, just a little bit of everything that you would normally find out of state, but it's right here in the DFW area. So pretty exciting to have this section of trail, something so iconic.
Well, there you have it. So all you mountain bikers and hikers, it's time to make a trip out to Texas Frontier Trails.
Absolutely.
So, Kristen, we just came in from the Texas Frontier Trails mountain bike trails, and we mentioned Flying Tire a few times, so we thought it would be a good idea to pop in and let them see what you have to offer, both in product and in services. So could you just give us a little bit of a rundown of like what do you guys have here and what services do you offer?
Okay, well we sell giant mountain bikes, or well actually giant, and then we have mountain bikes and cruisers, hybrids, and even road bikes, and then we do repairs,
Okay.
and then we also have some bike rentals.
Okay, awesome. So if somebody's out on the trails and they do something to their bike, you've got probably what they need to be able to come out and do the repair.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for letting us show the store. We wanted people to be able to see it, and so
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.